If we are not in NATO, why is he on our soil? If we are not in NATO, and America says that we are not ready to take Ukraine to NATO, then Putin must fully retreat from our territory. That is logical.
Can you make sense of that for me?
No, absolutely not, because what he's ignoring is, well, he has outlawed opposition and banned and jailed opposition political opponents, banned opposition political parties, shut down opposition media, shut down the canonical church, the East Russian Orthodox Church, and replaced it with something else. It followed up on implementing laws to quash the ability, the rights of citizens of Donetsk, Luhansk to speak Russian, and to attack their cultural heritage, and to deny the use of Russian language throughout, even though Zelensky himself grew up speaking Russian. The guy's completely detached from reality. He's trying to make it as a simple black and white issue, and it's not black and white. I think I told you last week, I had a repairman here at the house, and this guy is born in Kiev. His mother's from Kazakhstan, and his father's from Kiev. Well, you know, and so I said, well, what was your preferred language to speak? Russian. Oh, okay. So, you know, like I said, Zelensky is in the process of trying to reinvent himself, and the problem is this entire fraudulent scheme to attack and destroy Russia has blown up on him. This was conceived in the West and executed with Ukraine as a willing proxy, and it is now completely imploding.
Well, now let me ask you a question on that direction there, because I when you put all the pieces together, and we're talking like not just the 3 years of the war, but maybe let's just go back 7 or 8 months before that started, when Zelensky first made that law that said that the Ukraine side would recover all of its lost territories, to include Crimea, by force if necessary. That's kind of what started the clock here. And I think it was March 21st of 2021, and it was shortly thereafter, almost immediately thereafter, that Putin first started building up forces outside of the border. So all of those things have carried on since then. You have Zelensky, who's basically, you know, been begging for stuff. He's been wanting this. He's been wanting the West to do that, air cover and stuff at the beginning. He wanted a air canopy over his country provided by the West, etc. All these things he kept asking for and never got. It really is starting to look like that he was never anything more than just a useful idiot, and that he was playing his role happily all the time, but it was always pulled outside of the country. How do you see that?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. When you go back and look at the platform that he ran on as a presidential candidate, I mean, I remember at the time saying, boy, I hope this guy wins. He'll be a refreshing change in Ukraine, because he was coming off as a fresh face, as honest and sincere about ending the war with Russia. And instead, once he's in, it's double down time. Because really, he was a puppet, and he was just as he was before he became. This was simply a new role. He was a comedian. He was an actor. He just got hired for the biggest role of his life, to pretend to be Fidel Castro in Kiev. You know, a shorter Ukrainian version of Fidel Castro, one who preferred cocaine over cigars. And as a result, he has led this nation into utter economic and demographic disaster. Because the estimates now, and I know that Doug McGregor is pretty confident that the numbers are close to 1.2 million dead, which I think is not out of the box. I think it's right on target.
Yeah,
and then
he actually said that earlier on our show today. But it is now starting to seem to me that his utility to the West is coming to an end. I want to show you something that you mentioned this a second ago. I want to get a running start into it. Here's 2 days ago, Keith Kellogg talking about the possibility of needing to go to elections for Ukraine before negotiations can commence.
I think what's happened when you talk about like elections, it's, you know, and it's in their constitution. They can't have an election. They're the Ukrainians until the war goes to at least a ceasefire. And long term, it's going to happen. I believe it's happening. But both sides are going to have leaders. You're going to deal with Zelensky. You're going to lead with Putin. I know Putin has made the comment, well, he's illegitimate leader. Well, that's not his call. That's the Ukrainians' call.
Yeah.
But both sides are going to have to give a little bit. And that's the way negotiations work. And I think both sides will give a little bit. Zelensky has already indicated he's softened his position on land, and Putin's going to have to soften his positions as well. I mean, you just can't be one way or the other. The Western world won't stand for it.
Okay, well, I want to.
Yeah. I mean, God, he's so full of crap.
Well,
I mean,
but I want to focus because of something that's going to happen subsequent to this. I want to focus. He said, Putin says that Zelensky is illegitimate. He didn't dispute that. He just said, well, that's what it is from his perspective. He didn't say no to it, but he kind of left it open. And then, of course, he says this ridiculous thing about it's against the Ukrainian constitution. Obviously, it's not. It's why would anyone put in their constitution? If our country is invaded during a time of war, we won't hold elections, whatever. That's what he said on the 2nd of February. This is in Politico today where it's changing. Not that one, Gary. That's the Ukrainian response. Yeah, this one. Over the weekend, United States President Donald Trump envoy Keith Kellogg said, in most democracies, elections take place even during wartime. I think it's important, and I believe it's good for democracy. The beauty of a strong democracy is having more than one potential candidate. Strongly signaling, about that. Maybe we do need to have. And then, of course, as you said, you had Dmitry Peskov right away backing that up and saying, he said that the legitimization of the Ukrainian leadership would be necessary as part of any peace process. What it sounds to me like, and I want you to put your CIA analyst hat on, is that the conversations that we now know for sure are taking place between the Trump administration and the Putin team. Is that I think that they're saying, Zelensky ain't going to be part of this. We need to get him out of here, and then we'll have negotiations. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly where it's headed. Zelensky painted himself into this corner by basically issuing the decree, both canceling elections and saying that using as an excuse, we can't have elections while we're at war. And many of the propaganda mouthpieces in the West repeated that nonsense, forgetting the elections of Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War, the elections of Woodrow Wilson during World War I, the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt during World War II. And then we even had elections during the Korean War, during the Vietnam War. So, okay, so much for that. It's nonsense. But Kellogg, and I'm afraid it reflects the thinking not just of Kellogg, but of others in the Trump team, that, well, Russia doesn't have a say in this. Well, absolutely, Russia does have a say. You know what it's called? They're winning. You know what? When you have the money at the poker table and your opponent is out of money, you're winning, they're losing. That's simple. And that's what's taking place right now in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are out of money. They don't have any more chips to bet. They're looking for chips. Zelensky's looking to get some nuclear chips. Hey, give me those nukes, and we'll be in a position to bargain with the Russians. The Russian interest in negotiating with the West went away a long time ago. Now, what they're waiting for, and I think the Trump administration has started to make some contacts at lower levels. There has not been anything at a senior level yet, because the senior level guys have made it very, very clear what they're after. They're not after a ceasefire. Ceasefire, forget about it. They're not after a freeze in place. Forget about it. What they want is the Ukrainians to withdraw from Russian territory now. They do that before there are any talks. They withdraw from Russian territory, which includes Zaporizhia, Kherson, as well as the Donetsk and Luhansk. They withdraw. Then we can sit down and start talking, but the talk's going to be not between Russia and Ukraine. This is not settling. This is not like divorce court where Ukraine's the battered spouse. No. This is about, we're dealing with the United States, where the United States was the gigolo from outside who was using Ukraine as his own product, as a proxy to attack Russia. Russia understands that. So what they've got to get from the United States is an end to NATO threatening Russia. And we say, well, we're not threatening Russia. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what they think. And as long as they think NATO threatens us and we're not stopping this war until that threat goes away, it doesn't matter what we think, because Russia's going to do what Russia wants to do in its own interest. And we need to wake the hell up and recognize that.